and welcome back to Nurse Converse. My name is Mel, a former pediatric nurse turned two-time Best of Nursing Award winner, and today's episode is a really special one. Here on Nurse Converse, we talk a lot about the realities of nursing, the challenges, the burnouts, but today we are celebrating ways that nurses show up for their communities, especially in times of need. I am joined by two incredible nurse leaders. We have Courtney, the founder of Rekindled Nurse, and Tara, the founder of Debriefing the Front Lines. Both are nurse-led nonprofit organizations that support nurses in different but deeply connected ways. Together, Courtney and Tara organized a relief outreach trip to Asheville, North Carolina in November of 2025. And I had the honor of volunteering on this trip alongside 12 other nurses from across the country. And what we experienced there was something that I will carry with me for a very long time. And today's conversation is about how the trip came to be, what it looked like on the ground, and why nurses are such a powerful force of healing, and not just in the hospitals, but in communities everywhere. So Courtney, Tara, thank you so much for being here.
Yay! Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Mel, for having us and for being an integral part of the outreach trip.
Oh, I love that. Well, before we dive into the trip itself, I really want our listeners to understand the heart behind each of you and the work that you're doing. And Courtney, I wanted to start with you. Can you share a little bit more about your nursing background and what led you to founding Rekindled Nurse?
Yes. Oh, well, thank you so much. This is such a blessing to be here and just to chat with you all, and just having this safe space is really, really special. So my name is Courtney. I am based out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I have been a nurse since 2018, and I started out as a neuro nurse. So my heart is still there. I'm a retired neuro nurse now. I work in endoscopy in our outpatient facility here in Lancaster, and I have been blessed with the opportunity to have founded Rekindled Nurse back in 2021. So I founded it. It was actually interesting because I feel like it's important to say that I went through burnout prior to COVID, which I feel like pre-COVID times, then like burnout wasn't talked about really as nurses. Right. And we're the grin and bear it generation, I feel like, and just, you truck on through and you see that as a new nurse and you just expect that that's normal. And nothing's really talked about beyond that. And then I experienced this just loathing for nursing that I was really upset that I had never thought that I would have, because I love this profession so much. I worked so hard to get into it. And then as I started just kind of going through a journey, therapy, just going through a lot of just that self-help, self-discovery, more of that well-becoming, my eyes were really opened that the profession is really hurting and people just aren't showing it. And there isn't really anything for nurses and for that support for nurses, especially our local ones. And so I saw a need, I saw a gap. And as I started talking to my other coworkers, we just started breaking down some barriers and understanding that, wow, like a lot of us are actually struggling, but no one knows what to do and no one knows where to go. So I wanted to create something that is all about community and it's all about support and just encouraging other nurses that they're not alone. And so then Rekindle Nurse was born, which is actually pretty crazy because then COVID happened. We all know what happened during COVID. Oh my gosh, and yes. So when I started Rekindle Nurse, it was 2021, and we just started out with events, and then we just got deeper and deeper into just supporting one another.
I love that. I love that. And for somebody who's hearing about Rekindle Nurse for the first time, how do you support nurses through your organization? You can just share your top 3.
Oh my goodness, I love this question. Our heart for our mission at Rekindle Nurse is that we don't want nurses to feel alone. We want them to feel supported, empowered, and encouraged. So we do that through so many different ways. One of our biggest things is we are a big in-person, like we want that rubbing shoulders together, having those conversations, especially coming out of such a, like coming out of such a digital age too, like with Zoom and everything. When we started Rekindle Nurse, it was like getting back together with people was like so deeply desired. And then we found out that it was so needed. So we do a big event every year. We do our Rekindled Nurse conference, bringing together 200 nurses from across the country, locally and across state lines. We also locally, we do peer groups. We have about 10 right now that we meet, and these are committed, deeper connection ones, peer groups that have just bringing together nurses of all generations, just to be with one another and encouraging each other. We get CEs from Debriefing the Front Lines, which is a huge blessing. We also do monthly workshops. And then something that is very near and dear to my heart is we call them unit drops, which we'll get into a little bit more later, because that's also what we did with our outreach. But we are just so passionate about meeting nurses where they are, because not everyone can come to an event, not everyone can come or commit to a peer group. So we want to show up where they are, and that's in the hospital walls. And so we form relationships with nurses in our area, and we deliver gifts. We have people sponsoring units to deliver meals, and just again, just letting them know, like, hey, I see you. You are so desired and you're so cared for. And just those simple little gestures mean so much.
Oh, I could not agree more. I mean, a lot of what's in my business is the little things are the big things. And it doesn't take a lot to turn someone's day around. And something that I really loved about everything that you were saying was like that concept of that you are not alone. And as Tara knows, alone is no longer enough.
Yes.
So that's a great segue. Courtney, thank you so much for sharing. That was beautiful. But Tara, I would love to hear your story as well. Can you share your journey as a nurse and how Debriefing the Front Lines came to life?
Absolutely, Mel, and thank you, Courtney, for sharing yours. You know, I am Rekindle Nurse #1 fan. So I appreciate you. Yeah, absolutely. My story is unique in that I am a 33% pediatric burn survivor. And life as a burn survivor, it really shaped my experience and led me to the nursing profession. And when I was 20 years old, I began my career in the burn unit. I had that shiny new name badge, and it was everything I ever dreamed of. It was the reason I went to nursing school. However, despite my lived experience as a burn survivor, I was just grossly underprepared for what I would witness. And the trauma, I didn't really realize it at the time, but it was cumulative in nature. And there was so much occupational trauma that I was experiencing as well as my colleagues. And I never wanted anyone else to feel this way. So over the next 20 years, this really shaped the trajectory and guided me in like every decision that I made moving forward, from what I studied. And again, I just devoted so many years to learning about peer support and debriefing and trauma-informed care and all of these things for myself to feel better and so that I could share it with other people. And that kind of led me into academia, preparing nurses for the future. I love simulation. And in March of 2020, when the pandemic began, I was working as an assistant professor at Towson University. And I began to receive a lot of calls, a lot of reach outs from former students, as well as like my veteran ICU colleagues. And, you know, we were that generation where we weren't really saying when we were nervous and scared. And it was really the first time in my career that nurses were fearful for themselves, their patients, their families, and the community at large. And I'm like, okay, what gifts, what skills, what medicine do I have to bring to the nursing profession? And that was my knowledge of debriefing. So I put out kind of a pretty casual social media call in what I thought would be a 3-week, right? A 3-week community project, right? And, you know, one by one, we began debriefing the front lines. And since we haven't stopped, we are almost 6 years in, 5,000 one-on-one sessions. We provide debriefing support to individual nurses as well as hospital systems. We began partnering with hospital systems in July of 2022, and that really helped us grow and for people to begin talking about debriefing as a communication tool, as an intervention to address trauma.
I love that. Yeah, so good. Courtney, you said it right out of my mouth. And Tara, I'm curious, just based off of your lived experience and expertise, why do you think that emotional processing and debriefing is so important for nurses, especially after a crisis or after trauma?
I think, this is multifaceted, and for the sake of time, I will try to keep it quick because I can really get on a soapbox about this.
Right. But I think it's really important for our listeners to know who has never heard debriefing before or heard this term.
So without this designated space, even if it's short, to acknowledge, discuss, process, recover an internal sense of safety, nurses, healthcare workers in general, we suffer. We suffer emotionally, physically, spiritually, and debriefing is a communication tool, and as I mentioned, an intervention to address trauma, to discharge energy. Nursing is an exchange of energy, and what is given out must be replenished. And even if it is a short debriefing, for 10 minutes post-critical event, to normalize the use of resources. Debriefing is not the end-all be-all, but it helps us. Were there any safety concerns? Not what did we do right, what did we do wrong? Were there safety concerns for us and for our patient? And how can we foster our own well-being as well? And sometimes, again, this is simply just normalizing the use of support.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and in that support, I mean, that kind of goes right into the outreach trip. And we got somebody from Pennsylvania, we have another one from Florida, I'm from Wisconsin. And somehow we were able to get 12 nurses from all over the country together to support the community of Asheville, North Carolina. And one of the things that really stood out to me about this trip is how intentional it felt. And from the very beginning, even, outreaching to get volunteers to come and help. And I remember before we even arrived, feeling how much care and thought had gone into making sure that this trip honored both the community, but also the nurses that were volunteering. Because like you said, like nursing, we have to replenish. And that was something that I really felt that was very powerful. And I saw it in the community. I saw it at the house every night when we were doing our debriefings. So I'm curious, how did this idea for the Asheville relief outreach trip first come up for you guys? Where did that come from?
I'll let you start, Tara. I always chuckle because it was one of my. I'm the impulsive friend. I'm just like, we're doing it. We're going. So that was where that was how all that started. So I'll let Tara share that.
So I live in Punta Gorda, Florida, Southwest Florida area, and in November of 2024, Hurricane Milton came through our area, followed by 2 weeks later, Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
This was at a time when we were also recovering from Hurricane Ian, so we had 3 incredibly powerful storms within 2 years.
Yeah.
And Courtney was checking in on me. I was actually documenting it on social media and sharing. Yeah. I was live.
I remember that
power was out. I was like sharing.
I was praying for you and everything.
Thank you.
Scary.
So Courtney reached out like the day after. It was less than 24 hours. And she was like, hey, I'm thinking about coming down for like an outreach, community service. Like, we'll help, we'll do anything, we'll clean up, So this kind of this response, this need to respond, which is such a beautiful thing. That's how Rekindled Front Lines was born, from Courtney's willingness to serve my personal community here in Southwest Florida.
Thank God for Courtney.
Yeah.
No, and it was so beautiful to see, because I remember, and the turnaround time for that trip was a lot quicker than this Asheville one.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember you guys pouring out to social media saying, well, and obviously it was nationwide news for these two hurricanes that demolished cities and houses in Florida. And yes, following your journey through that time, it was powerful. And it felt, at least for me, like I felt moved to help and in some way, shape, or form. And even though I didn't have the opportunity to go down there, I was able to give back and donate. And it's just so beautiful to see that, Courtney, you saw that a community was in need and you dropped everything and went down to serve. And I think that is just so beautiful, and we need more of it. And we got more of it with Asheville, and that totally ties in because, and Tara, I'll let you explain, but we know that Asheville, North Carolina got hit with hurricane damage, and that was a main reason why we went to Asheville. But what were other needs that you were seeing in that community that made this outreach so necessary?
Yeah, I think one of the main things that happens in disaster, be it natural or even medical traumas, is that everyone is there the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But then the headlines start to fade, and there is no more support. And what we know from the nervous system is oftentimes we need emotional support, 4, 5, 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Sometimes a lifetime.
Yeah.
In the aftermath of trauma. So we really chose Asheville with the idea and this kind of tagline that headlines fade, but community care doesn't have to. So we wanted to acknowledge the toll and the hard work of rebuilding for the nurses there.
Absolutely. Because even when we were there, it was almost a year after the hurricanes have happened.
Yeah.
And we could see the damage. And then once we were talking to members of the community, we could feel it, or at least I could.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
even like some of the people, like nobody's done this. Nobody came. Even in those first 2 weeks, they didn't have any support. And, I don't want to get too into it, but it was just beautiful and powerful. And, they were in the mountains. Mountains don't get hurricanes, and they weren't prepared. And I think that was another maybe reason why it had more of lasting effects within that community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, here in Florida, we have our generators, we have our sandbags, we are ready, we have our hurricane kits, but yes, and there wasn't enough time to evacuate. No. And even when you are considering evacuation is a privilege. Some people do not have a vehicle, they don't have the money, they don't have the capacity to leave their home. And many people in small towns, I mean, they don't want to leave. That is their safe place. Choosing to evacuate is a huge emotional decision as well.
Yeah.
I believe that wholeheartedly. So once we arrived in Asheville, at least for me, like everything became very real, very quick. And one of the most powerful parts witnessing before we even got to the outreach part of the trip was just seeing how quickly the nurses from all over the country became a team in that house, supporting the community and supporting each other without hesitation, and just getting right down the nitty-gritties. What do you need? Where can I help? It was so beautiful to see. And I'm curious if there's, for each of you, if you could share a moment from the trip that really stayed with you. I know there's so many, but
yes, there were so many. And I love how you highlighted that just nurses are natural. We're natural givers. We are natural
Yes.
helpers. We jump in when we see our coworkers struggling, like we don't run the other way. And so I think that that was something that I was even not surprised by, because it's who we are, like deep in our core. But it's just always so encouraging, not only with this trip, but also with when we were down in Punta Gorda last year, or 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
That just the heart for that these nurses have for others, and just how beautiful it is to see them using their gifts, using their talents, using their individual makeup that is so beautiful and so special, and that has so much to give, but just seeing them using those gifts and not just falling in line and like, oh, I'm just here to check a box or things like that. And I think that that's what made both of these trips really special, was that these nurses were here because they wanted to be here, not because they felt like pressured, not because they were like, well, I need to do an outreach trip, I mean, for my BSN or something.
No, that, yes.
It was like really, really cool. And I do think it's important too, just kind of going back a little to when we were talking about the origin story, about how important it is for the receivers to receive the care. It was just on my heart so much to go down, and especially having that personal connection with Tara too. Yeah. I see my friends hurting and I want to do something about it. Yeah. But I also feel like it's so important to recognize Tara and the hospitals that we connected with, the community centers that we connected with, to how much strength and courage it takes to accept the help. Because Tara easily could have been like, no, we're good. Stay away.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? So I do think that that's so important. And then just as an encouragement to the nurses listening, that it's so much courage and so much strength that it shows when you not only ask for help, but you also receive it as well. So I did just want to kind of put a little caveat to that.
I think that's so important to say, because I know, at least for me, I have a hard time asking for help.
Oh,
and,
sure.
you know, on and off the bedside. And it is, I mean, I know why, but I think it is very, special when you can open your heart into receiving help that's there. Yes. All of us genuinely wanted to be there, wanted to give back. We wanted to have beautiful conversations. We wanted to make sure that these community members felt seen and heard and appreciated. And I know that those drops that we did were something that I will carry with me forever. It's just so beautiful. Tara, did you have a special moment from the trip that stayed with you?
Yeah, generally speaking, my unit drop experience, and I think the same holds true for Courtney, has been in hospitals that felt like where our connections were, where we knew the most nurses who could kind of get us into leadership. However, this trip was very unique because we made the intentional decision to reach out to more community-based centers. Yeah. So yes, we visited ER 68 healthcare workers there. However, we also saw 100 nurses at the healthcare workers. They weren't just nurses, at the public health department. We went to 2 behavioral health centers. We visited school nurses. These school nurses were actually deployed at the shelters post Hurricane Helene. So for me, and I think for a lot of us, it was really special for this community outreach trip to be in the community. We weren't just at the hospitals. And that was really unique for me. And when we continue this outreach work, I think that is something that Courtney and I will continue to focus on, is the community centers as well.
Absolutely. Because you could see, because we talked about the unit drops in the hospitals. That's where they usually get a lot of the help, and the word is escaping me, but it was really powerful to go into those community centers and a lot of them had nobody's come to them.
Yeah.
Because most people go into the hospitals. It's more popular to go into the hospital systems because you're right, Tara, that's where the most of them are. So you want to serve as many as possible. But what about the underserved?
Yeah.
And it was so neat to see the trickle effect as well, because we had some extra shirts that Mel's Crafty Corner had donated, and we happened to be at a community behavioral health center where there was a group therapy. Community members were coming, so the extra shirts we were able to give to the community members, and some of them were unhoused. So it was just really such a beautiful ripple effect, and everyone was so excited, and that, I guess, is a moment that stands out as well.
Yeah. And I thank you for bringing that up, Tara, because I have done a lot of donations in the past, and I've done a lot where it's I see the impact from afar, and to have the opportunity to be on the front lines with it and to see the impact. And I wasn't there on that specific drop at the behavioral health, but I'm so glad, because afterwards they came back with I hope it was okay. Please, yes, thank you. And hearing that it was a behavioral health, I mean, I have mental health, and I have a lot of my population that I worked with in the pediatric facilities were behavioral mental health, and a lot of my business is to try to help my nurses and healthcare workers look and feel good. And especially hearing that some of them were unhoused, or just to know that something that I can provide will help alleviate just a small amount of pressure or provide a sense of joy, even if it's a moment, was so impactful for me. So I want to thank you both for allowing me that opportunity. Because sometimes it gets lonely up in here, and you don't really get to see a lot of it. But it was, again, something I will carry with me for the rest of my life. So thank you for that. How many healthcare workers did we serve in total?
416.
That's incredible. Now, can we talk about the support that we got from the community to go and serve on this? Because I know that each one of us volunteers, we had to fundraise to get on this trip and to go. It wasn't just, we weren't paid. There was nothing it was our time. It was just for our hearts. And I know that we got a lot of donations. I donated some things, but there were so many brands too that were donating product for us to give. So can you guys talk about how impactful that is for the trips and for some of the work that you guys do?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's just another piece of showing these nurses and healthcare workers, all of the people that we were able to encounter. It's just another piece of showing them that there are strangers that care for them, and there are people that support them, and there are people that see them in their heartache so much that they're willing to open their wallets or open their store to just show an overflow of gifts. And that is something, I am a gift girly through and through. So it is a little bit of my love language. Yep. So I lean into that a little bit, probably too much with Rekindled Nurse. But, and so just the fact of bringing alongside these businesses and individuals, to allow them to be a part of something so much bigger than themselves. And I heard somebody say it before, that the giver, whether it's finances, whether it's physical gifts or products, the giver is equally as needed and thanked and powerful as the ones actually going on these trips and doing the boots on the ground in-person things, because we can't do it all by ourselves. And so it's just another incredible, beautiful piece to show how powerful community is, and how we are not alone. Our life was not meant to be done alone. And we are bringing in so many people from different life stages, different businesses, organizations, and they are collectively saying, hey, Asheville, we see you. You guys are going through a lot. Let me do this for you. And we had so many, we had nurse businesses, which was so cool, like Stink Bomb and Sky and Oliver. Yep. There was pausing really quick. There was a amazing woman at one of the outreach locations that we went to. She was geeking out over Sky and Oliver because they do their little shaker badges. Yep. She was geeking out over it because like a lot of these bags, like some of them were kind of similar, but like we didn't have 416 of one thing. So it was just like 200 of here, maybe 50 of this. So like all the bags looked a little bit different, but she wanted one of those shaker ones, and all the other staff members like within her pod all got one and she didn't. She was like, so we were like kind of were making our rounds and we were able to kind of circle back through and chatting with them a little bit. And I was just like, are you so happy with like, what are you feeling? And she was just like, I'm so happy, but I wanted one of the shaker badges. She called it something wrong, I think. Didn't she, Mel? Because you were there.
Yeah. She was like, I want one of those shakers.
Shakers. She called it a shaker. I don't think she even knew it was a badge reel.
I want one of those shakers.
Yes. So that was so fun. So we were actually able to go back to like our stock. Yep. We found one. We went and gave it to her, and we got a picture of her with it. She lit up.
So excited.
So happy. Excited. And so we were able to say like, this is a nurse business. And so just being able to share those things like with the people that we're giving these gifts to. And Stink Bomb, Sky and Oliver, like some of those other nurse businesses, Go Clove also helped us, Athletics. So some of those like also bigger brands that people see that they may think that they're so far out of reach to us, like working on the grounds, but they're not, and they still see us and they still care. And that was just the most exciting piece of being a nonprofit and allowing people in on our mission and our heart, and seeing how many people are like, I'm going for this. Like, this is amazing. I'm here for you. And just being able to share that with other people.
And the amount of support that I received was, I hit my goal, and we were able, and seeing, and even if people couldn't donate monetarily, they were able to send me, sweet messages of support. Yes. And I know that there are nurses listening right now who are feeling that pull and that call to serve, but maybe don't know where to start. And for nurses who want to get involved, what are some ways that they can support Rekindled Nurse and Debriefing the Front Lines? Tara?
For Debriefing the Front Lines, one of the most helpful ways to support us is honestly by sharing on and off socials and bringing awareness to debriefing as a resource for nurses. Again, normalizing the need for support, spreading the message that alone is no longer enough. So awareness building is huge for grassroots nonprofits. I'm sure Courtney feels the same way.
Oh, yeah. Yes. 100. I cannot agree more. I mean, the connections are beautiful. The monetized donations, the physical donations, all of those things are so special. But I totally agree that just the awareness of, hey, there's a nonprofit that's like an hour away from you and they're doing local events, or like, hey, if you are grieving or you're going through something, there's an incredible nonprofit you just have to log onto your computer and they have scholarships and things like that. So just the sharing, yes, and I agree, like on social media, just in your community, because even if you're not physically a part of either of our organizations or maybe another one, just knowing that there are people out there that are fighting for you, that they are supporting you, that they are encouraging you from afar is just can light up your heart too. So even just knowing that, like, hey, I know you might not be ready for this right now, but when you are, there's these two really cool organizations that are open arms ready for you when you are. So just the awareness piece is huge. So I totally agree with that.
Love that. And I also know that there's a nurse that's probably listening that feels that call to serve, but is afraid that they don't have enough to give. is there anything that you both would say to that?
Oh, we all have so much to give. We have so much inside of us, inside of our hearts, and even we saw that firsthand in both of our trips, and even I'm sure across the board of what other people, when you're working with your coworkers, but leaning into what you are uniquely gifted at. We all have those things. And as we lean into those things and as we lean into those gifts, it's just so innate in us to give, to step out, to support. And it doesn't have to be this grand, like, I'm going on an outreach trip in 2027. And it doesn't have to be that at all. It can just be so simple as when you're working with your coworker and they have to go pump. I'm a nursing mom, and it was very challenging. And so just like there was 2 coworkers that I knew every time that they were there, I would have the freedom to say, hey, I got to go pump. Can you watch my people for 15 minutes? And so just simple acts like that of just opening up your heart and just being able to remove the blinders for a moment and seeing your other people. And you'll be so surprised of the incredible gifts that you have when you just allow your heart to open up to those types of things too.
Amen. Tara, did you have anything to add on to that?
Just to echo Courtney's statement in that, it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be grand.
Right. The little things are the big things.
Yes, little things are the big things, small gestures, because it's not really happening because of how busy we are as nurses and because all of the factors that we're not going to list, just like the healthcare system in general, there isn't time, there isn't space built in to our day for caring for one another. So I think that's something that we are trying to kind of champion and pioneer forward, that these small things, that acknowledgement is a gift in itself.
Yeah.
Right.
And even just doing that for yourself too.
Yes.
We have a girl in our peer group that I just was reminded of. One of the things she wanted to do is she wanted to start putting herself first, and not in a selfish way. And that's not selfish to put yourself first and your needs. But her thing is she has this hot pink Stanley, and she's like, that's the first thing I do. I walk onto my unit, and that's what I'm doing for myself. And I know that if I protect that myself time, I'm going to the water fountain, I'm filling up my hot pink Stanley, and I'm ready to take on the day. So even just things like that, just so simple, but just honoring your heart too, and supporting what you need to do that energy exchange that Tara talked about. Like, we're giving out so much, it's okay to put back into your heart too.
Yes. You need to replenish. I love that. So as we wrap up, I just wanted to say how incredibly grateful I am for the both of you. Not just for leading this outreach, but for your compassion and for your leadership and for creating these safe spaces where nurses can heal and where we can serve and lead with purpose.
Yeah.
Because this trip was such a powerful reminder that nurses are organizers, we're advocates, and we're community leaders. And I'm just in awe of both of you, and I'm so honored to call you my friends.
Yay. Thank you
No
so
tears.
much. Thank you so much, Mel. We are receiving that gratitude and your beautiful energy, and we are sending it back. And with that, Debriefing the Front Lines and Rekindled Nurse would like to thank the 171 financial donors who made this trip possible, as well as the Amazon donors who donated gifts for the care packages for the 416 nurses. And then we would also like to thank our corporate sponsors, Nurse.org, Stink Balm, Clove, Bubbler, Carrie Type Company, Fabletics, Awake Chocolate, Crumble Cookie, Mel's Crafty Corner, Namaste in Nature, Crystal Lee Photography, Trader Joe's, Elements, Homegrown Homemade, and Georgie for all your in-kind donations. Thank you for making all of this possible.
Oh, we couldn't have done it without you. Thank you so much for your sacrifice and just for your love and seeing nurses and taking the bold step of saying, I'm in. let's do this.
I love that. I love it. Yes. Amplifying all the thank yous, all the gratitude, because we are all in this together. Alone is no longer enough. I say this a lot. We're all in this together. You're the High School Musical.
Your millennial is showing.
And to everyone listening, if this episode stirred something in you, I encourage you to learn more about Rekindled Nurse and Debriefing the Front Lines. Support nurse-led organizations, and remember that making an impact doesn't require perfection, just heart. And I want to thank you all so much for listening today. If you liked this episode, make sure to give us a review and comment down below. Tell us how your day was. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.